In the pilot episode, you were explained how the first contact took place between Dennis and a living being from another world. From another planet, to be more precise. If you haven't seen this episode, we recommend you watch it, but you may all be wondering what happened after that moment. That day, Dennis started a long conversation with that entity. The discussions took place every night, and Dennis was completely taken over by the stories the alien was telling him. They talked endlessly, both about the history of the Earth and about the planet on which the alien lives. They also had long discussions about the universe, about amazing planets, about legendary travels, about societies that live a dream and others that live a nightmare, about war, trade, and the tourist attractions, about economy and diplomacy, but also about the current political realities of the galaxy. Dennis was asking many questions. Some were answered, but others were not. Until one night in late April 2020, when he found out what the purpose of that being was. He quickly understood that the alien's final message had to reach as many people as possible, and the only chance was to use YouTube, the second most visited platform in the world. This could be the way for this story to become viral, and the message of that being to reach as many people as possible. The boy had a plan, but he had a big problem. He knew that being the one who contacted the being would be subjected to immense pressure, and as soon as people found out about it, this kind of pressure could lead to communication with the alien being blocked. The government or any organization would have detained him and forced him to communicate with the entity for their benefit. Therefore, he had to remain anonymous, and everything had to be done in secret, but at the same time to reach the whole world. That's why he started putting together a team. Everyone had an undisposable talent for this project. One was expert in YouTube, another in editing, and another was a sound technician. But it was also about the person who would be exposed to the world. And one of the team members, Patricia, decided to take this role. It was under these conditions that Patricia had discussed with that mysterious being. She was immediately charmed by her galactic discussion companion. The conversation went on for days and nights. The only inconvenience was that, apparently, the alien was connecting Earth in a chaotic manner at different times of day and night. But this was due to the difference of time zones between Terra and Yagis. And this is how the story begins. We are Space Embassy. We will represent you, ordinary people, in the face of an advanced civilization. We will ask the questions you leave in the comments, and we will make communication easy between you and them.
Greetings, dear friends. My name is Patricia, and I will be your connection to a being from the planet Yagis. From the beginning, I want to tell you that I'm not into this kind of job, but for the sake of all mankind, I decided to accept it. As I told you before, I will be your host in every episode. I will talk to our friend from the another world. I will ask questions for you, and I will insist on some answers if I don't like them or if I consider them incomplete. All of you probably have a first question. Why isn't this broadcast live? Well, we can't do a live broadcast because the footage must be edited. The time between our question and his answers is 17 seconds, which we edit out. Of course, we could ask more questions and he would answer them all live, one by one, but that would prevent real and effective communication because, as I said before, when an answer does not seem complete to me, I can insist on it or on some aspects. But if I received all the answers in bulk, I could not insist on some of them. On the other hand, interference in communication often occurs, and then we must ask for the answer to be repeated. Some other times we have to make some adjustments. Furthermore, we consider that for the benefit of clear and understandable answers from beyond, they should be accompanied by as eloquent as possible images. Since we do not have a budget that allows us to create images, we have decided to use images that already exist in the archives of Earth for the time being. Finally, given the special conditions of communication between us at such a great distance, they take place at different times. We want our message to reach the entire world anyway, and to be viewed by our friends on all continents who live in time zones different than ours. Therefore, we decided to go for the recording and editing option. Now that I have clarified this, I just want to tell you something. I personally cannot tell if this thing is true or not, but after all these conversations, I am convinced that everything is indeed true. I don't know what team is behind this. All I know is that this alien has a message which is very important, and he wants this message to be delivered all around the world. Please do not contact me in private, and please respect my privacy. I do not know more than you do, and I am just as curious as you are. If all this is just a setup, I will be a victim, and so will you. But now it's time to let our friend from the galaxy speak. Nargil Kran, you can speak now.
Greetings from Yajis, Darmar Dilabani. May the peace of morning guide you. I would like to introduce myself to all people. My name is Nargil Kran. Within the state of Yajis, I'm a rank 1 citizen, and my job is history research. More specifically, I'm a specialist in Earth history.
From what I understand, the closest job to one of our own would be that of a professor.
Exactly. Balancing the terms using our culture with those on Earth, I think the closest and the best equivalent name to the one I have would be that of a professor.
I understand. So, Professor Nar, the first question, and probably the question that anyone who will watch this broadcast will ask themselves: how do you know that everything is real and not fake? What evidence do you have in this direction?
I'm sorry to tell you, but I don't have the means and I don't feel fit to provide any evidence. Furthermore, the law forbids me to do this. In our galaxy, there is an organization which in English could be translated as Signatories of the Bastards Treaty. The signatory states of the Bastards Treaty have regulated international relations between them. Rules of wars, rules in peacetime, regulation regarding fighters, and regulations related to the interaction between states that are in the area of galactic travel and those that have not yet entered this era.
That is a kind of UN on Earth, as you explained to me in our previous discussion.
Yes, I kind of UN of the Earth. The treaty has an article called the Tigra Protocol, which covers all states that have not entered the era of galactic travel, and therefore Earth. This protocol governs the position of advanced states with respect to non-advanced states. Advanced states have an obligation not to formally contact states that have not entered this era. Advanced states are not allowed to interfere in any way in the life, development, internal affairs of any less advanced planet. Every people, species or race must follow its own destiny, to find its own way, to follow its destiny as it desires.
Okay, but the way I see it, the treaty disadvantages the less advanced species. I mean, why wait hundreds of years to discover all kind of technologies on our own when we can benefit from them directly from the advanced ones?
Because the interests of advanced states are rarely innocent and harmless. The strong have the natural tendency to take advantage of the weak. Prior to this treaty, the advanced civilization used to invade or forcibly colonize the less advanced civilizations. Many times, in the wars they fought, they would arrest hundreds of thousands of males, take them to military bases, train them, arm them, and send them to die for them. At other times, they would invade entire defenseless planets or parts of them, where they would subdue the population.
I understand that in its past, the Earth has also had such incidents. In our previous conversation, you told me stories about Japan, Egypt, Greece, Israel, Siberia, Antarctica, and Central America.
Yes, for example, Japan endured a long period of occupation by Takigawa Shy State. The Shy settlers took advantage of the primitive stage of the population of the Japanese archipelago to fool people into the making them believing that they were gods. Thus, the people were deceitfully dominated by a crew of 670 shy from a single warship. Later, the state of Takigawa Shai sent a fleet of 12 ships of various types and 3,000 professional soldiers heavily armed to enclose a mining colony there. But we will discuss this case in detail later.
Okay, in our film culture we have a movie, Avatar, in which this time the human species, very advanced, try to colonize the Pandora satellite by force, coming into conflict with the local species Navi.
Ah, yes, Avatar. I saw it.
You have seen a movie from Earth?
Of course, I'm aware of your culture, but we'll talk about this on another occasion. But what I wanted to say is that due to the strict regulation of the Bastos Treaty, of which Yagis is also signatory, of which I'm a citizen, the government approved with great difficulty this approach of contacting you. And the argument that convinced them was this approach will not interfere with your natural development, because most people will not believe in our existence and therefore there will be no consequences to these broadcasts. That is why our institute and the government sign a protocol that regulates the limits of this broadcast. At the first violation, the government will close this project. That is why we'll have to be very careful, and especially myself to be very careful about what I'm communicating to you, so that our project is not blocked. There are already voices of the Bastos Treaty ambassadors calling for the project to be stopped because it violates the Tikra protocol.
Thank you, Professor Nar. Thank you for your availability and for having the idea of this project. This episode will end here, but I can't wait to hear you again next time and for you to tell us more and more about our past and about the galaxy.
Thank you for trusting me and for fulfilling my request to communicate. You have no idea how much I tried before you to do this, but literally no one was willing to believe me.